thank you very much for inviting us. I am Tove Philipsson, Education Manager at VETAC. And I saw some of you, or virtually saw some of you in April the 22nd. So maybe there are some of you who are here today as well. I'm a physiotherapist by profession, and I have my colleague Jo McConnell, who will introduce herself right now.
Hi, thank you for inviting us to present this webinar for you. I'm Joanne McConnell, as Tove said, and I'm an occupational therapist. So I work a lot with Tove with star cushions when we're able to travel all around the world. So it's really great to deliver this for you, and hopefully it will be really useful for you. And together we will deliver this education and answer your questions at the end. Thank you.
And you, Jo, you are close to Birmingham, in the UK, and I am sitting at home close to Stockholm in Sweden. So we are 1 hour apart, and one or 2 hours apart from you as well.
Yes.
So we have done some technical practice. So fingers crossed that everything will work now. I will now try to, yes. So for today, we will do a recap. If some of you were here, you will see that there is a recap from last webinar, but for you, all you who, the first time that you attend, it will be like a first fresh start. So a recap of Starlock and how to set it up properly. And after that, we will help you, assist you with videos and talking by my lovely colleague, how to adjust for pelvic obliquity, pressure offload, foot propulsion, and amputee. And at the end, there will be some case stories. Maybe, I think they are very helpful, actually. So I hope that you find them interesting and helpful as well. And the objectives for today will be to learn how to set up a Starlock and how to adjust it for pelvic obliquity, pressure offload, foot propulsion, and amputee. And then how Starlock has provided solutions where other cushions have not been successful. So I will hand over to you, Jo. And if you, Angelo, could help us to get Jo on the camera mode.
Thank you. So the training today, the webinar today, will include some use of the web camera. So as you can see, we have example here of a small Starlock cushion. So I'll be able to show you things in detail on this, and also using PowerPoint slides and some videos, some of which are videos produced just for webinars, just small information videos, and also one or two of our videos that are used on YouTube and on our website. So lots of different formats for trying to share with you in the best way when we're not able to be with you in person. So that is how we will do today. So there will be a short video to watch right away. So if we could start with showing that video now.
No,
we are not. We're not in the right place in the presentation, I don't think.
Yes, I think, because you will inflate the cushion now.
Yeah. So right,
with the webcam on.
Yes, with the webcam on, I will show you before we go into the video. I will show you this part. So just to reinforce the importance of understanding how the Starlock is different to other air cell products, and also obviously very different to air cushions. So we need you to understand how the two pumps work. So if you can see here, I've attached the hand pump, the black hand pump. I've attached it here onto the valve. But before I start to put any air into the cushion, I want you to always check something. So this is really important. You will check that this is open. This white valve is running parallel with the black pipe, and that means it is open. And you will press the black button on top. You will press that for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold that in. And that is unlocking, making sure that it is unlocked on the base of the cushion. So you do that before you start to put air into the cushion with the hand pump. So we use the hand pump to put air into the whole cushion, into all of those air cells. You can see the air going in there. Okay, and then turn the valve. Turn it off, close it. So that is how we use the hand pump to put air into the valve here, like other air cell cushions. Now, what is different is the ball pump. So you need to understand that always. So the ball pump is what we use when we want to create all of the possibilities with Starlock. And it's called a ball pump because you press it like this. So I've already checked that it is unlocked, and I've already done that at the very start you saw. So now I will pump this, and this is now locking each cell. It is locking it, so the air isn't flowing freely. It is being locked in each cell. So we just need you to understand that before we look at anything else. That's really important. And if I show you now the base of the cushion, you can see these little pockets here. This is where we've locked between each cell. Now, if I press this here, you will see they now deflate, and I will pump again. You can hear that. Pump, pump, pump until it feels stiff here, and that is inflated again, and that is locked. And if I quickly turn it over, you will see here, in between the cells, you can see here, this is what is inflated on the base, and this is actually where we have locked between each cell. So the air isn't free flowing. It isn't like a one chamber cushion anymore. It is now every cell has been locked individually. So this has created the simplest thing, stability. Simple, but really important. We've created stability. So each cell becomes an individual cell, and then we can start to create anything we want with this cushion to meet the clinical needs. But the most important thing to understand is that when the cells are locked, we've created stability. So that is what I just wanted to show you before we go into the video about how to do the initial setup and how to do the hand check. So now we will go to that to watch that video. Now I've just shown you the principles on the miniature, on the smallest size of the Starlock cushion. Good. Thank you. We're now going to watch the video. And this is showing how to set up to do the hand check. Okay, now Tove will get into the wheelchair and we will show you a simple hand check, which we must always do before we do any adjustments on the Starlock cushion. So we are not using this ball pump at the moment, so ignore that for now, leave it. So I must always locate where the user's lowest bony prominence is, and with somebody in neutral posture, it will be the IT ischial tuberosity, the sitting bone. So I must find that on Tove. I'm wearing a glove because it makes it easier, and I will go in with my palm upwards to do this. So as a reference point, I would look following down the body to find the trochanter major, and the sitting bone is in a line under the trochanter major. So is it okay if I do this? I will just always check with the user, and then I will slide my hand under. I found that really easily, Torva's IT. But if I cannot find it easily, I can raise the leg like this, and then it will make the bone more pointy, more prominent. So I found that, and I will put my hand underneath that, and then I will let some air out of the cushion, let a lot of air out of the cushion. Okay, you can hear the air coming out. So I am checking while my hand is in that there is enough air, but not too much. So we want 2 to 3 centimeters. So this much air under the lowest bony prominence. So you can stop and start till you get the air correct, because we don't want the user, Torva, sitting on the cushion. We want Torva sitting in the cushion to immerse into the air cells to get the benefit. So there is still a lot of air, so I'll start, let a little more out. Okay. And again, you can stop at any point just to check, and always looking that Torva is sitting nice and level. And you can take your hand out. You can see that the air is moving freely. It is not locked at the moment. And you can see that you can check that the pelvis is level also. So you're doing a lot of observations at this first stage, but you're most importantly checking that there is enough but not too much air in the cushion. So I'll do one more hand check under the sitting bone again. And if you could not find, you check again with raising the knee. Okay. Yes, that is good. And that is how you do the first hand check before we do anything else with the adjustments with the ball pump. Thank you.
So Joe, maybe we should say that you could inflate the cushion when the user is on the cushion. And of course you can do the adjustment with the cover on. We just didn't use that because we wanted you to see clearly what happens.
Yeah, so we would always be using the cushion with the cover on, and then that will hold the cells nicely together. You wouldn't see them moving outwards like that. And also just to say that you can see I have a pelvis here. We were doing I was doing the hand check on Torva, and I was checking here for the IT. So you see I'm touching that here. So that would be the low prominence that we'd be checking for. And that was if somebody was sitting with an upright pelvis in a neutral posture. But if somebody was sitting in a different way, so they were sitting with a posterior pelvic tilt, you would see actually the lowest bony prominence is not the IT, it would be the sacrum. So sometimes you'll be doing your observations and you'll be doing your hand check on the sacrum. So it's not always the IT, it will most often be the IT, but you'll do an assessment, you'll do your clinical observation, what is the lowest bony prominence. So the IT would be the typical place, but sometimes you'd be checking for the sacrum also. So this is all part of your clinical assessment and judgment. And this pelvis doesn't want to stand up, so I'll let it lie down.
Another thing interesting, because we often get that question, is what the difference is between the low cells and the higher cells.
Yes.
That you don't end up higher. And why is that, Joe?
Yeah, so I have a model here on my table. So you can see here I have a cell height model. And actually, you'll see the picture on the wall behind is about the cell height. So you will always select the correct cell height for clinical need. And we would always say to go for the 10 centimeters or the 13. So the 13 is unique to Starlock, and it gives us the best opportunity for positioning, for immersion, for envelopment, and the best protection for skin. But yes, correctly, Torva is pointing out an important fact there. People say, I can't use that high cell height because they'll be sitting too high and they're in a wheelchair that has a fixed foot plate because it's a rigid wheelchair, it's a bespoke wheelchair. Actually, no, you're still going to let out a lot of air. So you're still going to come down, down, down. This is just a cell model, going to come down, and you're still going to just allow enough 2 to 3 centimeters of air under the lowest bony prominence. But what it's given you is the opportunity for the best positioning opportunities, for the best skin protection, and the ultimate air cell to create the possibilities. But don't worry that by choosing this high one, you're going to be leaving somebody sitting too high. That's where you need to understand how to work with the air in the cells, you really need to let a lot of air out, because one of the most common faults and mistakes is that people leave too much air in the cushion. You need to immerse into the cushion. So there is too much air in this one here. Sorry. So you need to be immersing into that, not sitting on top of it. It's not a great example because it's the 5 centimeter cell height, but you need to make sure that somebody is sinking in immersion and envelopment, and that the cells are wrapping around the bony structures to give support and stability. You don't want somebody sitting right on top like this. You want them down, down, down into the cells. So that is a good point to raise. Thank you, Tor, because it is a common question that we get. Okay.
Okay, so back to the presentation then.
Yes. So that is the first little video, just to remind everybody the importance of the hand check, always the first thing you do before you do anything else. Okay, and then this little video is me. Now I've explained to you on the camera the difference with what the ball pump does. This is where we create the magic. This is where we create the unique things that Starlock offers. This video is just really going to show you in a different way. This is me sitting in my house here in one of the VETAC wheelchairs. Show you what it looks like when the cells are locked and unlocked, and how that affects when the cells are when we haven't used the ball pump. It's a 1-chamber cushion with free-flowing air, and then when we have used the ball pump, the cells are locked. So I'm going to try and show you this on the little video. I'm going to talk again about the ball pump and how that controls the functions of the Starlock cushion. So when the cushion is open, when we have not locked the cells, it is a free-flowing cushion like this. The air is flowing through all of the cells. Yeah. And so this is with it unlocked. Starlock, we use the ball pump. So we always check that this is open here. The white valve is open. Checking that that is open. And pumping the cushion, pumping the ball pump. Cells underneath the cushion and creating stability in the air cells. So the volume is a little low, so I'll talk. So while I'm pumping, I explain that's creating the stability, that's locking the cells. So more stable for propelling, more stable for transfer. So now that's a lot more stable for anything we want to do in the wheelchair. More stable for propelling, more stable for transfers, and that's because we've used the ball pump. So when you sit on a cushion yourself, the most important thing, if you're ever going to try this with a client, is try it yourself first. So sit on the cushion and try with locked and unlocked, and you will feel the difference between the free-flowing air when it's a 1-chamber ability. So that's really important to make sure you feel that yourself.
Okay, we will move on to the next. So back to the presentation again.
Next one, I think. I'm going to talk again about the ball pump.
Sorry.
So yes, let's just remind ourselves of what are the possibilities of Starlock. Why is it so different? Why is it so unique? So there are many things we can do with the Starlock. We can recorrect posture. We can realign the pelvis. So we will talk about that in a minute. So the first video is showing the first image is showing the posture realignment. And then the second image means that we can immerse into the cushion. We can immerse into the cells. So we can redistribute pressure really effectively by immersing into each individual cell for optimum immersion and envelopment. So envelopment is when the cells wrap around the body structures, and immersion is how deep we can go into the cells. And then the other really unique thing we can do is to create a pressure-free zone by locking off however many cells we want to. 1 or 2 cells, we can lock them off underneath the, so if we want to lock it off underneath an IT, we can do that. So pressure-free zone and creating a pressure-free zone for pressure offload under a pressure injury, pressure ulcer. So endless possibilities really, and so quick to set up and so quick to reset up if you want to change something. Okay. So this is me talking again about the locking mechanism. We can't reinforce this enough.
About the importance of the ball pump with the star lock and what makes it really unique. So the ball pump controls the base of the cushion. I'm showing you on this little cushion here, but it is the same on every star lock cushion with the base. So when we operate the ball pump, we need to make sure that this valve is open and running parallel with the black pipe.
So that's what I was showing you live.
And then do a few quick pushes to unlock the base. Now I'm going to show you the base. So when I pump this ball pump, you look at these cells here and they inflate. And you see each one is inflated. When that happens, it is because it is locking each of these cells. So when I push it now, because it is open, they will release, they will unlock, they will deflate. If I pump again, and then I turn this and push, they will not deflate. So you cannot do that by accident as long as you've locked there. So one other thing quickly to show is that how we can adapt the top of the cushion, the air cells, by this. So if I want to isolate some cells, so I want to do a pressure-free zone, I would push down on those cells, then I would pump, and then you would see these are inflated again. And these cells here that I've pushed on, this cell that I've pushed on, has now created a pressure-free zone for pressure offload and taken away the air in that cell. That can be really important for some clinical setups.
Yes, and just to say there, it's really important to understand when we create a pressure-free zone, we know from our detailed working with pressure mapping that we don't increase the pressures, we don't create any peak pressures around the offload. So that's good to know also.
Okay, shall we go to the next?
Yes. This is talking about pelvic obliquity.
A little bit how we correct posture.
The sound is really quiet.
So you can talk instead.
Yes. So what I'm saying here is that it's important to feel what we can create with the ball pump. So if somebody has a pelvic obliquity, we would be correcting their posture, realigning their pelvis. So we would be doing the check and we would realign their pelvis. And then when we've got them in a neutral position, we would then use the ball pump to lock, pump, lock the cells and hold them in a neutral position. But what I was showing on the video, because I don't have a pelvic obliquity, and this is good to try for yourself. So if you put yourself, if you sit in a very heavy leaning position, as if you have a pelvic obliquity, then you use the ball pump to lock it, and it will hold you in that position of pelvic obliquity. And it's good to feel that. And then when you release it, press the button, you will then unlock the cells and that will bring you back to neutral. So if you feel it for yourself and feel what it feels like to be held in an adjusted postural position, So what I was doing on the video, I was sitting like this on purpose. Then I was locking it, and it was holding me in that oblique position. And then when I unlocked it, when I pressed the button and unlocked to release into a one chamber cushion, then it readjusted. But we would be doing the opposite when we're correcting posture. We would be checking the ASIS, leveling the pelvis when possible, and then we would be setting. So that's how you can work with different postural presentations. So it's really good to feel that for yourself on the cushion. If you don't fully understand it, you must feel it for yourself before you try it with a client.
Okay.
Sorry about the sound. I don't know what's happening there, so I'll just talk over.
No, but this one is soundless, so you can.
Yes.
It's one of our videos that you can find on the YouTube.
And this is on YouTube, like Tove said, and it's showing how to do pressure-free zone. So I will talk through this video anyway. So you can find this on YouTube, and this is pressure-free zone. So Tove is showing you here that we can use foam pieces. You can use whatever foam pieces you have to push down and to push onto the cells that we want to take away. Or you can use them in a glove, in a multi-glide glove. Place them in the glove, and before the person sits onto the cushion, you locate them in the area of you want to offload, so under the IT. And when the individual sat on the cushion, you will be checking the pelvis always. You'll be checking that the pelvis is level, checking the ASIS. Then you'll take the ball pump out of the pocket, always checking that it's that the valve is unlocked. And you will pump to set it. Then you'll lock it, and then you will pull out the glove and the foam pieces. And then by gently moving the user, you will know that you've created an offload. So we're showing you here two methods. We're showing you using the pieces inside the glove or just using the pieces without the glove. Depends what you have available. And that is showing you what it looks like on the cushion. So Tove is showing you there where the foam pieces were. That's a pressure-free zone under that pressure ulcer, under the IT. Now, to check that the cushion does not need resetting, people always ask, how do we know when to reset the cushion? All Tove was doing was taking the ball pump out of the little pocket in the cover and then feeling it. So if it still feels firm, you'll know that that doesn't need resetting. But if it feels a little bit soft, you would just do a couple more pumps and then put it back in the pocket. And at every time you can just do a hand check again, and you can check that the offload is still there. And if the offload isn't there anymore, if somebody's been, messing with the cushion, for example, you can quickly redo the offload. But that shouldn't be a problem. It's a very easy, low maintenance cushion. You just need to check the ball pump is still firm, and then that doesn't need resetting.
So Joe, do you think you could show, if Angela helps us to put on camera mode, to show another way of offloading with a person sat on to the cushion?
Just with the little cushion?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll actually.
Or yes, with the cupping. I mean.
Yeah, just with the glove. Yeah.
Hmm.
So if if you're more confident with the cushion, and if somebody isn't in a lot of pain, sometimes people will be very vulnerable when they have a higher graded pressure ulcer, so they won't want to be touched in that area. That's when it's good to use the foam and the glove. But if somebody's happy to be for you to go in with your hand, you would actually be using your palm up like this inside of the glove. And you would go into the cushion underneath their IT, and this is what you would be holding underneath and pushing down with the cells. So you would be pushing down with those cells and holding them down, and then pumping, leaving your hand in place under the IT if that is where the injury is. So I'm pushing down, making like a fist shape and pushing that into the cushion. And then you would, excuse me one second, then you would remove your hand carefully, and those cells will have been offloaded under the injury. So that is another way of doing it. So having somebody sat in the chair and just using your hand to go in, locate the IT again, and push down on those cells with your hand to remove them from under the IT. But then you must always be careful that you're not flattening too many cells around. You don't want to take away the cells at the side also. So you can use just your hand if you're confident, and if the person doesn't feel too much pain under the pressure ulcer, or you can use the foam on its own, or foam in the glove. So there's 3 ways you can do that, but all of the ways, it just creates a really unique situation where we can offload pressure, create a pressure-free zone, so that that person has a really good chance of being able to sit out still by protecting their injury, because we've completely taken the pressure away under the pressure ulcer.
And important as well is that you will never, you will succeed, but maybe not the first time. You will have to practice a little bit. If you're not happy with your adjustment, you could just redo it.
Yes.
So that's the great thing about Starlock as well.
Yes. So if you think, oh, that's not quite how I wanted to achieve that, just do it again. It's so quick to do. The more you work with this product, the more familiar you are with it, and the more you do with understanding that each cell has its own possibility, that you can create whatever you want to create with each cell. The more you do that, the better the results.
So back to the presentation again.
Yes. So that video is from YouTube. You can watch it with many other STAR videos on there as well. And this is another one now to adjust for foot propulsion. So if this is a setup you require, it's really excellent with Starlock. So what Tove is doing here, she's creating space for lowering the front of the cushion for the leg that will be propelling. So opening up the hip angle there, and then pumping. By putting her arm underneath the other leg and holding it more in a bucketed position, a ramp position, she's created a shape that will hold the pelvis on the side of the paralyzed side. So she's lowered the side of the cushion for foot propulsion, and she's actually created a little bit of a well on the other side to hold the pelvis. And always, every setup, you're checking, you're doing the hand check before, and you're checking that the pelvis is level. So this is what Tove was doing also. So when you're happy with what you've achieved, you will lock like Tove has just shown on the video. You will lock that, and then you will put it back in the pocket. So you can see the lady is foot propelling now. She has a nice open angle for the hip, for good range of movement, accessing the floor with a nice flat foot. And on the other side, because we've been able to create that, we've lifted the other, like Tove showed, putting her arm under the other leg. We've created a little bit of a well to hold the pelvis and to hold the hip. So that's what we were doing there. We were creating stability on the paralyzed side, and then we were opening up the hip angle and lowering the cells on the side that will be propelling. So that's a really unique setup for foot propulsion on Starlock.
Okay.
So many possibilities there. And I've had, and Tove has, and all of us working with STAR have had so many excellent results with working with amputees. So this is where we can really take the maximum benefit from working with the individual cells to create shape and contour. So if we have a really high level amputation like this young lady here. We see many people that have had traumatic amputations, or they've had a limb amputated because of a bone cancer, for example. Then we could have a really high amputation right up through the pelvis. So how do you support somebody like that? Well, this is excellent with Starlock, because we'll really use the benefit of the higher cells here. So yes, we will really take advantage of working with the 13 or the 10 centimeter cell height. And we will then, on the side of the amputation, we will make space for that side. So imagine if somebody with an amputation is trying to sit comfortably and level on a foam cushion. That just isn't possible. They're always pushed over. They don't feel stable. So,
Joe, sorry, do you want the camera mode maybe?
Well,
yeah, now it's on.
Okay, so yeah, with the let me just find the pump actually here. I've just let too much air out of this whole cushion. Just put a little air back in here. So I can show you a little bit on the cushion. And this is obviously not a cell height we'd really be working with. It's the 5 centimeter. So we want to support, envelop around the structure. But if this side here was amputated, we want to allow enough room for that side to sink in. And then we would be working with the pump to create the shaping around that. So we'd be allowing immersion for the unamputated side. But where we've amputated, we'd really want to wrap around that structure and give space to sink in, give space to support. And that's the same for any level of amputation. So if somebody's had an above knee amputation, you want to allow around the cells, around the residual limb, around the stump. So you want to take them away, for example. So if you see here, so I want to create space here. So what I've done there, I've created space here for the amputated limb. So that's what you can do. You'll have the full cells here for the full limb, and then for the amputated limb, you'll take away those cells. So you can do that. You can really tailor make the cushion for that. And if you're not happy with the setup, you just press the black button and you reset. So if the person says that doesn't feel quite right, I didn't want quite so much taken away, you take away one row less. So you can really create bespoke shaping just by using this ball pump. So it's a really successful cushion to use for amputees. So I'll show you again here. I'm pushing down on these cells to allow room for the amputated side. And then I would create whatever shape I wanted to there. And that can easily be reset from day to day. So if somebody's working on, if somebody's working with a stump board to support the amputated leg, it can be changed with different setups when they're wearing a prosthesis and when they're not wearing a prosthesis. So it's a really, really future-proofed cushion for amputees and very useful for that situation.
Thank you. And back to the presentation again, please.
So now going into some case stories, we've talked about the different setups. So we have 3 or 4 case stories here where we can just illustrate really how different setups that we've talked about work for different situations. So this is a lady, a therapist that I worked with in the UK. So she's a therapist from one of the wheelchair services. And she asked me to go out and see a gentleman who had a transpelvic amputation. And this was from her email. And I just said, could I use these words actually to illustrate the difference that Starlock can make? So he'd had bone cancer, and then he'd had a above knee amputation, and then sadly he had to have a higher amputation as the cancer had spread. And he'd tried many cushions, foam, gel, and alternative air cell cushions. But it wasn't until I was able to set him up with the 13 centimetre Starlock, the 5-inch 13 centimetre cell, that he could really feel the benefits. So I got him positioned really well, gave him the space for his amputated side. And afterwards she said that she just wanted to feedback and to say how stable he felt. So much so that he no longer needed to use a thoracic or lateral support. So before the Starlock, he was having to sit with on his back support using a thoracic lateral support, because he was falling to the side always, because he was so unbalanced with only having half of his pelvis. He couldn't readjust, he couldn't realign he couldn't find his new center of gravity. So he needed lateral support. But she said now he was able to take that away, and he was able to sit out much longer. He was very comfortable, and it really improved his quality of life. So that's so important when we're looking at somebody who has a sometimes very unknown prognosis for the future. So that's how it was really. And I've had this story again and again and again with high-level amputation, and how the Starlock is really the most successful cushion for that, for the stability and for comfort as well. Okay, so that's one of the illustrations of how it worked well with amputee. And this is talking about corrective positioning with Starlock. So we talked a little about this, and I tried to show it in that video, how we can correct posture. So the first picture is this lovely lady in Sweden who has spina bifida. She's been a wheelchair user since she was a younger child. So she's a very competent wheelchair user, very independent. This is her sitting on just a standard dining room chair to illustrate what was happening with her posture. So you can see there that she has a pelvic obliquity. So as we said, so one side of the pelvis is higher than the other, oblique to the other. And because of that, her spine is compensating, and she has a scoliosis, which is correctable. It's not a fixed scoliosis. And then her shoulders are following, compensating, and she's getting a really asymmetrical posture in her seated position. So that's showing you she's feeling unstable. She's holding onto the chair. She's holding onto the table. Now, in the middle picture, she's actually sat on an alternative air cell cushion, not one of our cushions. And this is what she was using. And I can say it was a Roho. It was a successful cushion in some ways for her. She needed the protection of the air cell because she had a history of pressure ulcers, higher graded pressure ulcers. But she felt she needed to come away from air cell because she felt unstable. She had actually great difficulty in performing transfers on the cushion, and she'd actually sometimes fallen out of the wheelchair when she was trying to transfer, and also when propelling outdoors, going up and down curbs. So she had lost confidence on air cell. Also, you can see that her posture isn't really that corrected here. You can still see there's a level of pelvic obliquity, and you can see that she's compensating with one shoulder lower than the other. So we were not happy with this position, and we felt that we could offer something different, an improvement for her from Starlock. So the final picture is of her sat on a 10 centimetre Starlock cushion, and we'd been able to readjust, realign her posture, really improve her pelvic obliquity, which meant that her scoliosis was corrected and her shoulders were a lot more aligned. So that was a huge improvement on posture. She had the ultimate skin protection also with the Starlock. But the locking of the cells had created the stability, so she didn't feel, she was never falling from the chair, which is excellent. She was a lot more confident outdoors with her mobility again, Indoors, she'd regained her confidence on all of her independence transfers. She didn't need assistance for that anymore because of the stability within Starlock, which she couldn't get from the other air cell cushion. So that was a really successful outcome. Skin protection, stability, postural adjustment, realignment. Perfect. So that's what happened there. So that was a lovely lady in Sweden. And we're still in touch with her. She's still using the cushion now and she loves it. So, and this is another case that I was involved with in the UK. These are the only pictures we have, unfortunately. The gentleman wanted to share his story, but he didn't want pictures of himself. But these pictures are showing that he had, when I saw him in January 2019, he had a stage 4, grade 4 pressure ulcer, right down to the bone, and he was waiting for surgery to recover that. He was also struggling massively with instability. So he wasn't able to transfer without a hoist. He wasn't able to sit very stable in his powered chair to drive it. And he was really struggling with air cell. So he was having to try different cushion materials, which weren't giving him the skin protection that he needed. He was only getting out of bed for 15 minutes a day. He was on bed rest the rest of the time. So I saw him in January, and then I went back to review him with his OT. So I was working with his own OT from the wheelchair clinic. And this was in April, and his pressure ulcer had recovered to just scarring level, which we say is like a recovered stage 1 because of the scarring that remains. So this was using the 13 centimeter cell height, the highest cell height, and using pressure-free zone, pressure offload underneath that injury. He was able to then get out of bed and lead his life again, not lying in bed all day. And he just felt the immediate benefit of the stability. So he was able to transfer from bed using a transfer board. He no longer needed to be hoisted. He was able to drive his powered wheelchair with feeling stability. And he was even went back to driving his vehicle from his wheelchair. But he said this cushion gave his life back. He no longer needed the surgery that he was waiting for. So this was just those few short months on Starlock, 13 centimeters with offload. Previously, he'd tried other air cell cushions, and he tried gel cushions and foam cushions and hybrid cushions, none of which had solved this, and he'd suffered for, he'd been on bed rest for 2 years. So this made a massive difference to this gentleman's life. Still in touch with him, still working really well, and he never wants to come off Starlock, never. So that's a great outcome for him. And then we have one more case story, which is just brand new launched, so only finished in May of this year. And this is a lovely gentleman also in the UK that I worked with. And again, we have this full case story on the website. It's newly just launched onto there. So I first went to see him before all of COVID happened, and then I'd kept in touch with him on the phone, on video calls, and this was me going to review him after 18 months, just checking again that the offload was working, which it was, showing again on the little cushion, showing his carers, explaining how the offload works, and just the outcome for him was incredible. So he'd been suffering with pressure ulcers, grade 3 and grade 4 for many, many years, had a spinal injury, and had never found a cushion before Starlock that worked for him. So he was always getting pressure ulcer, healing a little bit, getting another one, healing a little bit, on bed rest, off bed rest. Nothing worked for him until he found Starlock. So he just wants to share with everybody the success of this cushion, and he's really like a strong ambassador for us and for the Starlock. And now he's sitting out of bed. He's not going on bed rest at all, and he feels the benefit of the offload and the benefit of the stability. A really great success story for Ian. So that's highlighting in these case stories some of the setups we've talked about today. And just to say that they're making a big difference to people's lives. So we want to share those case stories with you. So just to sum up really, so what is so unique with Starlock? What is different with them? So we would always say that the 13 centimeter cell height, the 5-inch, 13 centimeters here, gives the maximum opportunity for skin protection, for postural readjustment, for offload, for all of those things. So that is the best possibility for maximum immersion and envelopment. The fact that you can lock off every single cell, we don't lock off in zones, we lock off in cell by cell if we want to. What can you achieve with that? We've shown you today you can achieve correction for amputees, support for amputees, postural correction, foot propelling. All of those things are created because of using this ball pump. This is the magic here. This is how we create bespoke solutions using AirCell. And just the simplest thing you can do but make the biggest difference to many people's lives is creating the stability within the cells. Too many people are told every day all around the world, you need AirCell to protect your skin, but it's too unstable, so we won't give you that, we'll give you something else. You never need to say that again with Starlock, because we can create the stability within the cells. And then at the base of the cell, just an important fact, they're round, the cells are round, so really good free movement also, so really adaptive to individual needs, but also because they're round, there's no corners. So corners are more likely to wear and tear and sometimes to have a little problem on the corners with ripping. So we know ours is a very durable cushion from very high quality neoprene, obviously latex free. So that's what's unique with Starlock, just to briefly summarize that. Okay, so that's it. We've had a bit of an attempt at using lots of different ways to educate you. There's been a little bit of we've had a joint presentation with me and Tove and used the web camera and videos and PowerPoints. Hope in all those different formats we've been able to get the message and the learning across for you.